L'chaim.
L'chaim. With coffee.
Mm-hmm. It's coffee.
Rabbi Schmukler and I have been learning together for over 2 years now.
Yeah, I would say.
A little bit over 2 years. And just been able to ask him a lot of the different questions I had with that happened to me personally or with my surroundings. As some of my friends may know, that I went to a Catholic university, which was a great experience. I have nothing bad to say at all. I love all my friends there too. But I've had the privilege to be able to talk to you about different topics that are big on my mind, and we'll make this one maybe a short one before we get really good at these. Just two things that I think, two topics that are really cool to think about for myself personally and whoever listens, and for anyone really. These came up while I was in Israel, as you know, for the past couple weeks or so, and I really wanted to know the power of each of our names, and how Judaism teaches that your name is kind of like a snapshot into the future. And no, I'm not trying to make fun of or kind of bash some people's names, but there are some pretty wild names out there. Some even, I remember seeing on the news that somebody's name is hashtag. And although that's always, I'll always remember it, so that girl's got a cool name. I'm not so sure how that's a snapshot into that person's future. So could you let us know a little bit more about the power of our names, as well as like my name personally, because my full name is Solomon Ezra Berezin.
Mm-hmm.
And also I'll finish the whole kind of little bit of a dialogue, but
Sure.
I've had also friends talk to me at school, what's up with Jewish names? Like, what's up with these Hebrew names? They're so weird. Rabbi, like Shmuley, or I can't think of it. What's another one? There's
so many.
There's so many
Yitzhak.
funny, yeah, Yitzhak. It doesn't sound like an original name per se, or a normal name, but as Judaism teaches, then I'm sure you'll explain, is there's so much power to that, especially with just the Hebrew characters themselves. And I get so excited just talking about that because it's fascinating to me. And just like the first letter of the alphabet, the Aleph, it's the symbols that connect each other dive into the connection between God and man, and the big line in between is the Torah, and that's the thing that connects us to Hashem. So that's a lot of me talking. I would love to hear more of what a professional rabbi has to say.
Well, Solomon, it's a big topic, Hebrew names. I think it's something that we can talk a long time about, because really, for me, the way I would address this, the way I would explain it, would go way back. It would kind of the whole foundation. So there's a short answer, a medium answer, a long answer. What should we do? And if we want more depth, it's going to be a longer answer.
How about
medium?
Medium. Let's go with medium.
Okay.
If I'm sure I want the long answer,
Right.
but we'll see. Like, I can do that another time, or
Right.
And if people want to listen, maybe we'll give them a short. And next time, if they want to hear more, because maybe people will want to know about their names, we'll give them a longer.
Sure. So what I'll do is I'll do what we call calling the medium answer. A little bit of background, because that's what makes it meaningful. And then if you could, ask me questions if you want to shorten it. Okay. So first, the idea of that a name is meaningful. There's a fascinating teaching in the Talmud that tells us that when parents name their children, it is considered a tiny prophecy.
Yeah.
Okay, so which is an amazing thing. Which is meaning to say that all of us, when we become parents, no matter who we are, when we pick that name for our child, there is a little bit of prophecy that is happening through us. We don't even realize it, but of course we're making our conscious choice. We're choosing this or that, but there is something that influences it subconsciously, and that's what the sages were speaking about. And so our name is, well, now why is a little bit of prophecy necessary? Because that same teaching is basically saying that your name is not something random, that it actually is sort of the placeholder or the case, the encasement, whatever you want to call it, for your soul, for your soul's attachment to your body. So there is something specific about your name. It does say something about you. Now, I'm sure there are people that you'd say their names are really, wow, it's spot on, and there's others that you don't really see it. And there's sometimes parents will give their children strange names. I can't really speak for everything and every choice and what every parent has made. And the truth is that this teaching, I've only heard it said really from a perspective of Torah, so it really is meant to apply. I don't know if it's only for Jews, but it's applying to the Hebrew names, because the Hebrew names have that kind of meaning. I'm sure it extends to other names in other languages, but that is more, I'm going on a limb, speculation, because I know that that's further from the teaching. The teaching was referring to the Hebrew names that are given. We can speculate.
I'm sure people would want to, like, how would you find out what your Hebrew name is? Let's say if your name is something not so Jewish per se, something like a John. Well, that is a kind of a Jewish name.
Well, there are many names that do have some sort of Hebrew origin.
Yeah.
Yeah, or association. So, or sometimes they sound similar to a common Hebrew name. They're very similar. I don't know. It's not really something that I know so much about, but I can tell you what I do know about, at least somewhat. The idea that the name is significant goes all the way back to the beginning of the Torah. In the beginning of Genesis, it tells a story how Adam named the animals, and that the animals came before him and he named them. Now, why is that considered a special talent? Adam, why did God give Adam the job to name the animals? If you want to come up with names, you can do a random name generator. Kind of throw a bunch of names into a hat, pick out a name for each animal. But the idea is that, and this is explained in Kabbalistic teachings, that Adam, being the handiwork of God, was the most complete human being possible. The perfect prototype of human being. The Talmud talks a lot about Adam's gifts and capabilities, the holiness of his soul, the intelligence that he possessed on an extremely high level.
Someone we should strive to be like.
Well, yeah, he's our great-grandfather, right? So the idea is that he was given the task to name the animals because it took a lot of wisdom to know what to name each animal. And the idea is that when he named an animal, he was able to perceive the essence of that animal. What is that animal all about? Every animal has like a character, a personality.
Yeah.
We see this, right? You can say dogs have a certain type of personality, cats have a certain type of personality, horses, and so on with other animals. They have certain character.
What's like a quick one? Like how about a dog for all the dog lovers?
Yeah, sure. So, for example, dogs are very loyal. They're very they're very emotional, right? They're emotionally attached to their owners. They'll do anything often for their owners. As we know many stories of dogs that have went into fires to save their owners and things like that. So dogs are very loyal animals, and they generate a very strong emotional attachment to their owners. I've never owned a cat, but I know people talk about the cat's personality. It's kind of its cunningness or whatever. I think they're not known to be so warm, right? They're kind of a little more colder in their personalities, right? Kind of more smart.
Especially my cat.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so animals definitely have personalities in a general way. According to Kabbalistic teaching, the world was created, of course, by God. The Torah says God spoke and brought the world into being, as the way the Torah describes creation. that according to Kabbalah, God spoke means that God literally used the Hebrew language in creation. And so, from a perspective of Talmudic teaching and Kabbalistic teaching, the Hebrew language is not just another language, but it is considered to be the bedrock of languages. It's considered to be the DNA, the building blocks of languages,
Yeah.
and that and that it is the first language, and it's called in Hebrew is known as Lashon HaKodesh, which means the holy tongue. First of all, because the Torah is written in that language, but also according to many explanations, this is a language of creation. Now, this is where I'd say there's a long explanation about what it means, the language of creation, and I think that would be another discussion.
Yeah.
But because of that, we'll kind of fast forward to the idea that a name, the Hebrew name for something, which is what the Zohar and the Kabbalah is talking about, the Hebrew name for something is its channel. So if let's say a dog is called Kelev in Hebrew, Chaf Lamed Vet, it's because that precise word expresses something unique about this animal, something about its essence, about its character. If a horse is called Sus, it's because, which is Samach Vav Samach, it's because that word expresses something about the character of that animal. The camel is called Gamal. By the way, the word camel is related, in English, is related to the word Gamal. Gimel Mem Lamed, it's because the word Gamal expresses something about what that animal is all about. So that's why it took a lot of wisdom. Adam had to understand the essence of each animal and give it an appropriate name that matched its essence, which is an amazing thing. Because we're used to things being, like names for things to be random.
Yeah, or like people just want to name their child cool. Not actually cool, but like something that's sounds cool.
Right, and I think it's still a very long stretch to go from there, how Adam named the animals, and say that every parent is naming their children the right name for them. But let's leave that aside a little bit. So the idea is that if the name that you were ended up with by divine providence, assuming the parents weren't kind of trying to make a joke out of it or whatever, is going to say something about you. And again, the teaching is talking about the Hebrew names because they had considered to have a spiritual significance. So sometimes it helps to think about that. You learn a little bit about the meaning of your name, and often you may find that it gives you a bit of a clue into your own strengths and your own personality, somewhat. I mean, it's often, there are only so many names, and everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that every person with the name David has the same nature, or Solomon has the same nature, but it tells you something, can tell you something, perhaps, about that person. So that's the idea. That's the medium explanation about it.
So what's like my name?
Your name is Solomon Ezra.
Yeah.
And so, first of all, there's two things there. First of all, you're named for historic personalities. King Solomon, even if you were named after someone in between, but that person was ultimately named after King Solomon. And Ezra is also a biblical personality. Ezra was a person who led the Jewish people back to the land of Israel after their exile into Babylon, and he helped rebuild the Second Temple. So, so you would assume that when a person is named after a certain biblical personality, that they may have some sort of association to that name in them. If that person was, there are many things about any particular personality, but there may be something that you can draw from that.
Yeah.
So Solomon, King Solomon, right? We like to nickname you King Solomon.
Yeah, when I was in Jerusalem with my brother, the rabbi, I don't remember his name right now, but we were having a farbrengen after Shabbat services on Friday, and I was kind of falling asleep, and we were all surrounded by him, and I don't remember what my brother was doing, but I was kind of like dozing off because it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm not used to staying up that late, which is kind of weird. But he was like, Solomon, what can I do for you? And then he was just like, because I was dozing off, and then he started telling me about my name. He's like, do you know what your name means? And I was like, I think peace, like comes from shalom, He
Yeah.
said yes, but also comes from shalem, or I believe it's like wholesomeness,
Oh.
tranquility,
Yeah.
which was new to me because I thought it was
Yes.
just, comes from shalom,
Right.
but Shlomo, which is my Hebrew name, also has shalem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So what else does Solomon mean?
So
And then also
exactly.
I mentioned about Ezra.
Okay, so let's say first of all the personalities. So you King Solomon, you could study about King Solomon and see if there are things about King Solomon that you can draw inspiration from, that you can feel.
Lots of things.
Many things, many things. King Solomon, what he's famous for, was number one, that when he led the Israelites, the Jewish people, he had tremendous success. His kingdom was extremely successful, considered to be perhaps the most successful Jewish kingdom in Israel in the days of the Bible. He built up the country economically, socially. The whole fabric of the country is very well developed. His own kingdom, his own palace, everything was beautiful. Everything was at the top level.
Yeah.
So also, at a time when wars between nations were a common thing, throughout the reign of King Solomon, there was not a single war. They never had to fight a single war. His name was Solomon.
Snapshot.
Yeah, exactly. Shlomo, right?
Yeah.
It related to the word peace. He never had to fight a single war.
Yeah.
Now, his father, King David, fought many wars, and that's not held against him. In fact, King David is a tremendous hero because he was able to bring the tranquility that King Solomon benefited from. Somebody had to fight those wars.
Very true.
To put the fear into those who would want to attack this young nation, to say, don't bother, don't mess. And so, but King Solomon benefited from his father's strength and his father's victory and his father's heroic leadership. But he didn't have to fight any wars. He succeeded. His number one biggest, most famous accomplishment was that he built the first temple in Jerusalem. And that was the promise that God made to the Jews, and the Jews sort of made to God, that when they come into the land of Israel, and when they finally have peace, they're going to build a temple in this special place. And they built that great grand temple that people came from all over the world just to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a temple that everybody could worship there, not just Jews. That's the role of the temple. It's a place, he called it Beis Tefillah L'chol Ha'amim. It's a house of prayer for all nations. And it brings peace to the entire world. It's a benefit to the entire world. So that's what King Solomon is famous for. Ezra, interestingly enough.
I actually kind of like using the name Ezra more sometimes.
Well, it's cool.
It just kind of sounds cooler.
Ezra is a great name, and now that we're talking about it, Ezra has so much in common with him, because Ezra built the second temple.
No way.
Yeah, Ezra was the leader.
I didn't actually.
It didn't occur to me earlier, but now that we're talking,
Shoot.
Ezra is the leader that led the rebuilding.
I
of
wish
the
I could
second
build the
temple.
third. I can help build the third.
We all have that job. So Ezra led the rebuilding of the second temple, a tremendous feat. He led the Jews back to the land of Israel from Babylon. He persuaded many Jews to come back. He reinvigorated Judaism in a time when it had become very weak. He did tremendous things. Plus, he also is known as Ezra HaSofer, which means Ezra the scribe.
Wow.
Ezra the scribe.
My mom complimented me on my writing the other day.
Yeah, you have good handwriting.
Well, also the things I like to write about,
Yeah.
because I've gotten into journaling and now kind of like blogging different things I'm interested in. And this was a topic like, what's your name telling you? So, I mean, it's really cool how, like, sorry to interrupt for a second, but it's cool how sometimes I feel like you're guided in the route of that.
Yes.
Like, I just naturally kind of came to writing things, and I didn't know anything about Ezra. The only, like, I knew it was a biblical figure.
Yeah.
But all the Ezra that you hear the most is from like TV shows like Pretty Little Liars or something. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, so that's another, right. So Ezra was known as the Sofer. That was his nickname, or his title. Ezra HaSofer, Ezra the scribe. And the reason why he got that name is because he was responsible for writing down many of the books of the Torah. So if you want to kind of be a little bit poetic about it, in modern days, scribing goes in all kinds of forms.
Yeah.
It could be social media, it could be, marketing, it could be whatever. You can apply it to many things that you may feel you have a knack for, and you can draw inspiration from that. So there you have it. Those are the two figures, and there's so much about them. Now their names, like you were saying, Shlomo is from the word that means peace, shalom, and it also means the word peace. It means that because it means whole, wholesome, complete, tranquility. It's a beautiful word, and it's a way of how you also go about things. Sometimes people go about things where they're conquering, they're waging battles. There's different ways of accomplishing goals, right? Sometimes there's certain leaders that get things done through strength, or through aggression.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be a bad thing. Sometimes that's exactly what's needed to make big changes. But there are some leaders that accomplish great things in a peaceful manner. They just encourage and make people want to do what's right and what's good. Perhaps that's something that you can see in that name, Shlomo. And Ezra implies divine assistance, because Ezer means assistance. So God helps you out. And in general, that's a teaching in Judaism that anytime somebody sets out to do the right thing, God helps you.
I agree. And I think that's really important. And, I just, like, on the side, it's kind of just crazy. Once we started, like, filming this, like, we've been having classes like this, but for some reason, I don't know if I'm just feeling much better, but if you have the idea, the idea that someone may be watching, that somebody can get something out of this or pay attention, just like me playing a sport, there's always someone there watching that you could be inspiring, or you could be helping out with in some way, just from something you're talking about or something you're doing, like on the sports field. So, I mean, this is like our first time filming.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like, really, like, I don't feel like I was I feel like I was more invested and, like, really into the topic, like, not just because it was about my name, but it was really cool. I just felt like I needed to say
So and to take it broader,
yeah.
If you have a Hebrew name, you're fortunate to have that. Investigate it, find out what it means. If you're Jewish and you don't have a Hebrew name, find out. You may have one. Maybe your parents gave you one at a bris or when you were born, but they never really mentioned anything about it. Or you can still get one. You can still gain a Hebrew name.
Who can give you that?
You go to your local Chabad house and tell the rabbi that you're Jewish. If you're Jewish, tell him you're Jewish. If you're not Jewish, tell him who you are. Because
my name is I can't even think of a name. Let's go with Max, and I'm not Jewish.
Yes.
How do I get a Hebrew name?
Well, if my name is Max and I'm not Jewish, I come to the rabbi and say, Rabbi, I want to strengthen myself spiritually.
Well,
and tell me.
I wish everyone comes to you with that question.
Yeah,
It's a
we're always
question.
open for that. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to tell you a little bit about myself, and you can tell me some advice about how I could get myself on a good spiritual track. Because Judaism teaches us that, famously in the Torah, there's 613 commandments for a Jew to follow, and
they
many
call us
details.
the chosen ones.
Yes, and many details. And yet the Torah also says that there are 7 commandments for every person in the world to follow. It's called the 7 Noahide commandments. So all of us are descendants of Noah, according to the Torah. And that means we all have a common code of ethics we should follow that Torah teaches. So Torah is not just for Jews, and you don't have to be Jewish to know what to do.
So a rabbi
would
explain all those things to hypothetical max and they would find a Hebrew name that just fits them the best?
Honestly,
Does he have-
it's not something that I've encountered.
Yeah.
Non-Jewish people wanting to get a Hebrew name, and I don't know what Judaism says about
Maybe
it.
they will now.
But I don't see the harm in it,
Yeah.
either. So that's something to sit down, start that conversation. Because really, what you want to do is, it's not like you're trying. It's not like you're trying to trick some sort of system
Yeah.
into getting more of something.
Yeah.
Like it's you're trying to really find out what your spiritual role is in the world, how you complete yourself, and how you bring the best out of yourself. That's really what it's about.
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe talking about your name is the way
Yeah.
it started, but that's what it's about.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rabbi and I are gonna dive into some more topics off the film, but I thought this was really cool. As I mentioned, like I didn't imagine that filming it or making it seem like someone's watching or that you can bring value to someone else would inspire me to pay attention more to what we're talking about. It's really cool, to be honest, and it's just a privilege and an honor to be able to sit with somebody like yourself and to be able to ask questions that we all have growing up, whether it is your name or what is this, what is that, what is all these different type of things. It's unfortunately some people don't tell you or tell you to keep your mouth shut. I've had experiences with that growing up, as well as some teachers that allow you to ask, because questions are answers.
Yes.
And I hope, this enriched me, and I hope for many, many more lessons, on video or not, with Rabbi. He's helped me out tremendously, growing up as a person, spiritually, religiously, and I can't preach enough about openness. And just something that's been on my mind is I feel like a lot of people, and myself included, think that other people or elders are trying to tell us how to live. I don't think that's true anymore. It takes like openness and being open, being willing to try something new. Who knows what this person may be telling you about, to try this new technique or to learn this. It could enrich your life in a way that you never even imagined. And once I started coming and learning with the Rabbi, my life I felt like I've come to like a new awareness and just more comfortable being. So thank you. And thanks to whoever is listening. We'll be sure to bring more great topics.
Thanks, Solomon.